Well, here in Spain, Cathal Rochford joins me again this week to continue our discussion. How are you doing, Cathal?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Enjoying the sunny weather here in Spain this spring. What about yourself? How are you keeping?
Well, I'm enjoying the warmth as well. Last week we looked at the importance of advanced planning and timing your move and when you sell assets. If you missed it, you'll find a recording on the podcast page on Blevins Frank's website, blevinsfranks.com. Today we move on to estate planning and pensions. Estate planning becomes increasingly important as we get older. Spain and the UK have very different inheritance laws and taxes, so I presume it will be essential to review and adjust your succession planning once you've decided to move back to the UK.
Yes, absolutely. I would always recommend for people to review their estate planning in a holistic and integrated manner before you relocate, taking into account UK inheritance tax, Spanish succession law, succession and gift taxes, UK and Spanish probate, your wills, and any trust arrangements to be taken into account to ensure your legacy remains on track to go to your chosen heirs.
A few weeks ago, Brett Hanson explained how the UK domicile regime has just been replaced by one based on long-term residence. And domicile used to be key for inheritance tax liabilities. How does this reform affect British expatriates returning to live in the UK? And are there any steps they should take in advance?
So from the 6th of April this year, the domicile regime has been replaced by one based on long-term residence. In summary, if you have lived abroad for 10 years or more when you return to the UK, your UK inheritance tax liability could be limited to UK-based assets for up to 10 years. Assets owned outside the UK would be exempt from UK inheritance tax during this period. So with careful and specialist planning and positioning, the UK can now be an inheritance tax-free zone for 10 years after you return to the UK. During this 10-year period, keeping your UK asset footprint relatively small and within your UK nil rate band allowances where possible, you can significantly minimise UK inheritance tax for your family in the future. So the goal should be to achieve certainty and control over your estate, to pass your wealth down to your chosen beneficiaries with the minimal complexity, minimal complication and costs, minimal estate taxes, and in a controlled and timely manner for the benefit of your family.
Moving away from inheritance now, are there any issues with pensions that British retirees need to be aware of before returning to the UK?
Yeah, so if you transferred your UK pension into a qualifying recognised overseas pension scheme or a QROPS while living abroad, it's important to take specialist advice on the best way forward. And if you made pension decisions based on tax-compliant opportunities in Spain, it's important to determine what you should do once you're now liable to UK tax again. Any income taken from an overseas pension will become taxable in the UK as income instead of in Spain where you were resident before. It is likely to be advantageous to leave your QROPS in place once you've moved back to the UK, in line with the 10-year inheritance tax exemption that I mentioned before. UK pensions will become subject to inheritance tax from April 2027. And so during the 10-year returning period, a QROPS pension would technically sit outside of this, being a non-UK situs asset. So if you do hold an overseas pension scheme like a QROPS, this will position your pension pot very efficiently for estate planning purposes, as it will sit outside of UK inheritance tax for those 10 years that you return to the UK.
Do you have any other advice, Cathal, for listeners relocating from Spain to the UK? And how far in advance should they begin planning?
I would say ideally take time to review your tax and financial planning arrangements before you even set your departure date. I would say you will benefit from speaking to an advisor with an in-depth knowledge of both tax regimes to ensure you get the best out of your finances for your new life ahead. Blevins Franks specialises in cross-border tax and wealth management. Our integrated advice covers taxation, estate planning, pensions and investments, and takes into account both countries' tax regimes. With offices and highly qualified advisors across UK, Spain, France and various other countries, we are perfectly positioned to help you plan your return to the UK. We can advise you on how to make your move as tax efficient as possible, guiding you through every step of the process for as long as you and your heirs need us.
Before you go, Cathal, can you remind listeners about the Returning to the UK webinar being held this Wednesday, the 14th of May?
Yes, of course. Blevins Franks will be hosting a live webinar on this topic, joined by experts in property, currency and mortgages. The sessions will cover our essential information for those considering a move back to the UK, including property market insights, financial planning, tax considerations, mortgage solutions and currency management. Whether you're in the early stages of planning or already exploring your move, this is a great opportunity to hear directly from specialists in each field. It will be held on Wednesday, the 14th of May at 5 p.m. Spanish time, and you'll find more details and a booking link in the events section of our website, blevinsfranks.com, or through our social media pages.
Always informative. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Howard. Pleasure as always. I look forward to catching up again.